Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Take It to the Hizzy Fantasy Hockey, TITTH number 121. I'm your host, Justin Bruni. We got a full house and a full Hizzy tonight. We got a special guest, Christopher Robin, and we got our regular Nick Davis. How we doing, boys? How we doing?
What's up, guys?
Excuse me, I said very good. That was an awesome intro for Nick. We got Detroit Beastie. We got me, and Nick's just kind of here.
Yeah, chilling. Like always.
He's always here. He's parked front and center at the Hizzy over here. How we doing, Chris? Welcome to the Hizzy.
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm ecstatic. I've told several people about this broadcast for a few days now after you reached out and asked me on, because, again, it's March 22nd, and the internet and social media is football with a little bit of draft and football. So rarely do I get to talk about hockey with anybody, and I'm not too sure how many people know this, but ice hockey is without a doubt my favorite sport. So to be in my element talking hockey with two like-minded people is outstanding.
Yeah, very appreciated to have you on. You can always stop by anytime, really. We're here every Monday. And yeah, right now, I mean, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. Fantasy reaction to free agency, all that good stuff. We haven't even jumped onto that yet, and we're kind of sitting on some more signings. So, but let's get after some hockey, though. Pleasure to have you here. You guys can find Chris Robin on Twitter at Detroit Bestie. Great DFS contributor, has a ton of insight for DFS. If you guys follow us, we're not too heavy on it. Seems like every time we start a stream, games have already started and we can't really dive into it. And getting ahead of the next days always seems really tough for us. So we're going to dive into some deep DFS conversation later in the show. I'll let Chris really give some deep insights into how he does his work and makes all that money on some daily fantasy hockey. But first, let's get into our traditional intro. Nick, how are we doing? How are the Caps? How was the weekend?
Weekend was cool. Chilled. Finally had a day off, so I was happy about that. Rangers did beat them 3-1, but before that, we had won 7 straight. So for me, we were bound to catch one loss. We're getting right with 2 games against the Devils coming up, so I'm not worried. Just a small hiccup in the road to Stanley Cup playoffs.
Right on. I made a couple of shekels there on some of those wins, but then just the other day I did lose some money on the Capitals on that Rangers loss. So take the good with the bad. How about you, Chris? How are the Red Wings doing? How are they looking?
Not so hot, boys. I believe they've only won about 10 or 11 games, which is okay. I understand. I've long said this in each major city that has like 4 professional sports, they all go through lulls. You ride the highs and the lows are low. And again, 10, 15 years ago, the Red Wings made the playoffs 25 years in a row, and the Tigers were in the World Series, 3 out of 5 seasons, and the Pistons won a championship. So, we've had it pretty good here in Detroit, but right now we're at the lowest of lows, and I fully trust in Stevie Y. Steve Yzerman is wouldn't call him the new GM. I think this is his second full season here, but everybody here in the city, Michigan and Detroit, and even some people in Tampa are rooting for Stevie Y, and I know he'll get us to where we need to go sooner or later. And shout out to Nick, because the Washington Capitals first power play unit has long been a favorite stack of mine, and again, even this season, they're heavy. Alexander Ovechkin on that face-off circle, one-timer, heavy-handed there is such a good move.
It's so memorable. I fell in love watching the power play and Backstrom, basically getting it on the wing and then slinging it over to Ovechkin for that slap shot. And man, it just is so electric, and he's still so good at scoring the puck. So I've been blessed with very nice fandom in Washington.
Absolutely. And one thing I've noticed is Backstrom, because I have to look at the lines and the units, they keep moving Backstrom from first to second. And I believe tonight he's on the first line pairing with TJ Oshie, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my Blackhawks are, they're coming on the down end, of their high, right? We're really struggling, got a lot of youth in there. They were playing really well, overachieving, like, all of the season, up until the last several handful of games. They've dropped 4 in a row and are officially now tied with Columbus for that 4th spot. So the back end of that division is starting to catch up to us. It doesn't look good with the rough waters ahead. More Florida, more Tampa series. Dallas is starting to figure it out a little bit. So it's going to be a rough ride to the finish. I'm rocking number 19 today because, Johnny, we need you, buddy. We need you back. Healthy and 100%. But right now, the team needs you, brother. Let's go.
Nothing against you. I like you. You're a great guy. But the Chicago Blackhawks have always been my least favorite team in the NHL. I cannot stand them. They've had some man of hate. They had some killer, playoff series, throughout the length of their, each storied franchise. But I absolutely dislike the Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh, right back at you, buddy. Stevie Y, he's your fearless leader from top to bottom, but that dude gave me nightmares as a child. Are you kidding me?
100%.
Oh my goodness. And I just remember like going back to like those old games, like those old matchups, even when the Blackhawks were bad. Just being at the United Center in that environment with those two, rivals really going at it. I remember being at those games where it was just clearly visible. I think even SportsCenter, they put it at like number 1 on their top 10 because there was just no traction that day. It was all Detroit fans in the UC. And I think it was the year that Detroit lost in the first round of the Ducks in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, that was they won the President's Trophy that season.
Oh,
and they got asses kicked by the Ducks.
Yeah, so the Blackhawks wound up winning that game. So you could imagine that, like, the Hawks fans, they were having a great time with it on the way out of the building. That's the only reason why I remember it was because me and my grandfather were, re-heckling some people that were heckling us. It was awesome when I was a little kid. So that's a fun story.
Here's I have a really fun, quick story from as a child. So my mom, who's recently retired, she worked at a doctor's office for like 30 years. And when I was little, talking like 8-10 years old, Lisa Iserman, Steve's wife, was a patient there, and my father did. He was how can I put this? He was a carpenter, and he did a lot of work. And we went into the basement there so he could do some work. And this is against the law, but I think it was 20 years ago, so no one can get in trouble here. We looked at her file, not to see what drugs she would, nothing about that, just to get the address. So I wrote him a letter, 8-year-old me, and a card, and he sent it back to me, and I still have it in my office at home now. Broke the law. I didn't know. It was my father at the time, my late father, but
inside information.
My favorite series of cards ever, 1990-91 O-Pee-Chee Premier. So good. Signed, and it still looks gorgeous to this day.
Nice.
Right on. That's what's up, man. That's great. That's an awesome story. I don't have anything cool like that. I remember one of my friends in college had Jonathan Taves' number because he slept with a girl that was friends with a friend of his. That's about it. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was like 10 years old. I wasn't sleeping with nobody at the time.
Well, yeah, it was a little different story. They're like, you guys want to call John Taves? Like, I'd like to. What would we talk about? I'm not sure. Like, oh, hey, we got this number from, never mind.
Prank and record and hope for the best, like a Jerky Boys kind of situation.
Yeah, call you later. Sorry, but let's move on. Let's get into some of our best bets for tonight. Let's clock in, as they say, and start getting to some of our picks here. Let's go over some of our best bets right out of the gate. I had Edmonton at +1.5. Anytime I can get Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl at +1.5 on the puck line, give it to me all day. They were on fire, 7-3 in their last 10, and I'd pick them to cover, -1.5 up against who was it, Montreal tonight. But they canceled the game. I'm not going to get it. So with that, I'm going to revert to Colorado plus the Rangers, both money line. Chris, who are your main stacks tonight? Guys that you had like in every lineup.
Well, in terms of DFS, I have the Islanders first line, Minnesota Wild first line, the Calgary Flames second line, and the Carolina Hurricanes first line. And if you look at each game here, the Islanders are playing Philadelphia, and the over-under is another one. I can get to my best bets here in a moment, though. But the Islanders in Philadelphia, I like that for a myriad of reasons. But first of all, the The Islanders are they kind of stay in that neutral territory, that stagnant territory where they're not really that good, but they're not really that bad. So in turn, nobody pays attention to them, and we can still get like Barzal, Anders Lee, guys like that very cheap. And in their first line, which I always love, and this is no secret. So like the team like Colorado or the Islanders or Washington, their first line, they skate together even strength, but they're all together on the first power play unit. So you're getting first line exposure and you're getting power play 1 minutes and exposure there. So it's kind of like double dipping, and that's no secret, but just something I picked up years ago, and everybody's kind of caught up to that sense. Minnesota won, as I said. Minnesota is at home. They're welcoming in the awful, the very, very dreadful Anaheim Ducks here. And the over-under is at 5.5 goals. I'm smashing the over on that one. I have Minnesota scoring. I mean, this is wild. I have Minnesota scoring about 5 or 6 goals in this one. So they might get to the over on their own. I see the final, I think, is going to be about 5 or 6 to 1 in that one. Calgary, too. It's been a favorite of mine all season, even the first line, but they're always, jumbling it up with Mangiapane and Sean Monahan and Johnny Gradeau, who's on the second line here. But Calgary goes to Ottawa, and Ottawa has been just as bad in the basement, with the Wings and Anaheim here. But Calgary's in Ottawa. The over-under in that one, I believe, was like 5 even. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I'd go Calgary minus $1.55 there, and I have the final at about 3 to 1, 3 to 2 maybe, but it's going to be under 5.5 goals in that one. And then lastly, Carolina won. Been a favorite of mine for a few seasons. That first line is something special with Aho and Svechnikov in there. So Carolina is at Columbus. Carolina minus $1.60. That's what I'm taking. And I like the final to be 4 to 2 in favor of Carolina. And one thing I've done a lot so far this season is bet the perfect 60-minute scores. The payouts are astronomical if you parlay them. And if you just want to do at a one game basis here, most of them are about plus 2,800, plus 2,500. So $1 will net you $28 or $25. And if you parlay them together, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars. But it's like winning the lottery to do predict a perfect 60-minute score with 4 teams. That's next to impossible. But it's been done. I've done it before, but nothing this season. So New York Islanders first line, Minnesota first line, Calgary 2, and Carolina 1 for DFS purposes. And then I like a lot of the over-unders, as I've said. So Islanders over 5.5, Colorado, Arizona under 5.5, boys.
All right, right on. Let's jump into some of our monkey knife fight picks. You want to go over some of those, Nick? Nick, we're just going to go back and forth on those really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Alec Martinez of the Golden Knights against Justin Folk. It's shots on goals plus block. And Folk has a bonus of 0.5 shots and just 0.5. I'm
going Alec Martinez. I'll get mine out first. Big favorite.
Yeah, I'm going to take Alec too.
100%. We'll sweep it. Alec Martinez is fantastic.
All right. So next one.
Ton of blocks all the time. So consistent.
He's on the ice 20 plus minutes. I mean, it just makes sense.
Gotta love it.
What are you going to do? Points. It's Ryan O'Reilly of the Blues against Mark Stone. Stone has 0.5 lead. I'm going to take Mark Stone. I don't really like the Blues, to be honest. So I'm going to go there.
Yeah, I'm really in the same boat. Ryan O'Reilly had a real beautiful goal yesterday, but I'm still going to take Mark Stone here. He is really a big part of their offense. When he's rolling, Vegas is on, and I got Vegas winning tonight, so give me some Mark Stone. And he's got that advantage.
I'm with you, Stone. And St. Louis has been, a fantastic kind of stacking team this season. First line, second line, but St. Louis goes to Vegas tonight. I have Vegas at minus 160. I think the final is going to be about 3 to 1, 3 to 2 in favor of Vegas. And Las Vegas's first line, even their second line has been a favorite of mine in hot pucking stacks. But Vegas first line with Stone, Max Pacioretty. So I'm going Stone all day in this one.
There we go.
Yep. All right, so we got a clean sweep across the board.
Next one is over under 3.5 shots on goal plus blocks for Blake Wheeler. He's playing Vancouver. Does anyone know who's Vancouver's backstop today?
I think it's Demko.
Oh,
Yeah, Thatcher Demko, correct.
I'm gonna say over. But Demko's gonna stop him. If it was Holtby, I would definitely say over again, but he's probably gonna get some goals.
Yeah, I'll take the over there. Give me some shots on net for Blake Wheeler. Vancouver, they don't play very sound defense in front of Demko or Holtby, whoever's in front of them. They allow.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Winnipeg a lot tonight too in Vancouver. I have Winnipeg at -120, and I have the final about 4-2 there in favor of Winnipeg. So if you can tell me you can project 3 or 4 goals for Winnipeg tonight, I wouldn't be shocked to see Blake Wheeler and Mark Lechefy, each score one here in this one. So over, buddy.
Same game. Quinn Hughes, the defenseman for the Canucks, over under 0.5 assists. So an assist.
See, that's a tough one. That's what I was just trying to pull up was his game log. I mean,
I'm gonna take the under.
His last 2 games he's had 3 assists. So I guess I could say he's due to not get one. That's really all you're going on. The trends say he'll get an assist.
I'm gonna say under because I think that in order for the Canucks to score, they're gonna have to be on the power play.
Well, it makes sense because Quinn Hughes, he was the dynamo, like everybody on earth wanted him, in the draft there. And he plays on the second line, I believe, but he plays on the first power play unit. And again, as I said, I have the final being 4-2. So Vancouver's going to score twice. And I firmly believe Hughes assists on one of those. It'll be a power play goal. So save this moment in time, and we can re-go over it tomorrow when he assists on a power play goal.
Fair enough.
Next one is 4.5 fantasy points for Brett Burns. That's the over-under line, 4.5.
I'm going to say under.
I'm going to say under too.
San Jose is always underwhelming to me.
Yeah. They're playing at home against LA. I have the final like 3-2 LA. I actually like LA tonight, plus 110 here. But Burn, like on Monkey Knife Fight, it's 4.5 points. He does that in warm-ups on FanDuel. I mean, 1 block shot, and that's it. He changes shifts. They give the guy a point. But so I'm going to say over, but I'm not too sure about the Monkey Knife Fight scoring in this one. It'd be pretty hard for me not to go over Brett Burns 4.5 fantasy points because I think he averages 9.8, 10 point something fantasy points a game. But again, we're talking DFS here. So I'm just going to say over based on my doing my research.
Okay. Adrian Kempt, center for the Kings, 3.5 fantasy points. He's in the same matchup. So I'm going to say over because I don't like San Jose's defense. I mean, they're very underwhelming. I think the Kings are going to get a win against them, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm taking the Kings that matchup as well, and I'll take the over for Kempe over 3.5. I'll put this game at like 4-1, 4-2 Kings. There'll be plenty of scoring opportunities available for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The Kings have been surprisingly, they've been playing very well as of late. And I noticed because they just keep popping up in my numbers and my research, and I've stacked them probably 3 or 4 times the last week to 10 days. Which in hockey, when you get on a hot streak or you get a hot line, that's everything. So I'm going to go over as well.
Well, like we say, good teams win, but great teams cover. The Kings are 21-9 ATS this season. That's one of the best in hockey. So they've been solid. I was making money with them up against the Blues when they were rolling up against the Blues. I've just been St. Louis in general has been a team that I was attacking, and that's kind of how I stumbled onto the Kings. I was like, oh hey, here's a couple of wins, here's a couple of bucks. I'm going to keep riding them out. So when they canceled Edmonton, Montreal tonight, that's where I reverted my refund back from the Edmonton plus 1.5. I went with Kings money line, so I like it.
Yeah, I love that. It's a nice pivot, and it makes you feel good because when something is canceled like that, or you have a goalie who you thought was going to play all day, and then 2 minutes before lock, you're kind of rushing around. And I know I've done it in the past. You make a bad decision, but in your case, pivoting from Edmonton to LA, kind of makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. So all sticks ahead, all Zambonis ahead here, boys.
All right, right on. All right, let's jump into the game previews. I want to take it from the top here. Some of these games may have started, but we're just going to, essentially go over the opening lines and what our picks would have been. Right now, looking at Buffalo Sabres plus 1.5 on the road, plus 204 on the money line. Total in this game up against the Rangers at home, 5.5 total goals. I took the Rangers here. I parlayed them with the Avalanche. I think they're an easy lock for tonight. Buffalo has been really bad. Was it 0-10 straight up in their last 10?
Yep. Terrible.
What do you guys think about the total as far as like the 5.5 goals?
Oh, give me the over. I think the Rangers are flying high after, eking out a win against the Caps. So they're going to take it against Buffalo, who's been god awful this year, especially after getting Taylor Hall. Like, Chris, I would definitely like to get your opinion on Taylor Hall. Like, how do you think like Buffalo feels about them like signing him and basically being like the worst team? Like, I saw someone ranking like doing power rankings of the NHL, and they had the Kraken above Buffalo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've always liked Taylor Hall when he played in New Jersey, and then I believe did he go to New York to play for the Islanders briefly? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then now he's with Buffalo.
Arizona.
Arizona, yeah. And you'd like to think, him on the same line as Jack Eichel would be, fantastic, and they've done nothing. And to be honest, the last I checked, they were 0-11, a few days ago, and I don't think they won since. So might sound crazy, and I hate to, say this because I don't have it in front of me, but they might be 0-12, 0-13 because they matched up against the Wings not too long ago, and they lost. I believe it was a Friday night kind of game. So yeah. Buffalo, it's unbelievable how a team like that they had a little bit of success the last few one season. I believe it was 2019. The COVID season last year was awful, but yeah, Buffalo is a wreck, and it just makes no sense because there's certain teams that when they're good, the NHL is more exciting. The NHL is better, and Buffalo is one of those teams, and they just cannot get it together.
Yeah, unbelievable.
It is 13, Chris. I just went through it. It is 13 games straight that they have lost, actually. So just going per viewing the last 10. You think that's enough of a reason not to pick a team? Give me 3 more games. Give me another 3 reasons.
Did you see how apprehensive I was? I knew it was 13, but I was second guessing myself because that's insane, especially in hockey. But crazy. Yeah, Buffalo has been terrible, and it's I feel bad. At least they got the Bills, right?
Yeah, finally.
At least they got Josh Allen. Yeah, they do have a winning record somewhere. 7-6-1 to the over on the road. So I do think there is some fair value for them to keep some pace here and run up the number over the 5.5. So I think the Rangers and over the 5.5 are both safer picks.
Absolutely. I think it's a 4-3 final. Rangers win, but at least Buffalo scores 3 times.
Yeah.
Isn't your boy Zibanejad waking up though? So he'll start getting you some points.
He was hotter than a pistol.
He got me plenty of points this week. I still lost by 8 points. And he put up like 50 in one game or 48 in one game. It was ridiculous. Yeah, he woke up at the right time. That was awesome. That's great. Driving me nuts all season long. Next matchup, we've got the Hurricanes going on the road to Columbus. They are -1.5 favorites on the road, -158. Columbus is +143 on the money line. We got another goal total of 5.5 goals here. I like Carolina more, but I do think Columbus can cover. They're 7-3 ATS in their last 10, and they've been playing sound hockey. 10-7 to the over at home. Over is 9-6-1 on the road for Carolina. So I like the over, and I like Carolina here.
Carolina's been sliding a little bit, and Columbus has won 3 of their last 4, but there's been overtimes and shootouts. So, man, for me, like I feel like Carolina is going to catch them in this series just one time because that's a lot of hockey to be played over a couple games. That's like extra periods and stuff. So I think Carolina is going to eke out a win against Columbus. What was the spread?
Carolina. I got Carolina -160.
Yeah, I'm gonna take them covering that. So,
all right, cover the 2.
Yeah.
What do you think, Chris?
I think the Carolina, their offense should be able to take advantage of the Blue Jackets defense that is not stepped up at all in this one. I think the final will be, let's say 4-2, 4-3 in favor of Carolina. And I think Carolina would cover too, as you said, $160, 158 doesn't really matter to me because the Columbus Blue Jackets offense hasn't really, they haven't picked up from last year, and it's been absolutely disappointing for me. And what like they have Patrick Lalane, and with that addition, it hasn't done anything. So I'm going Carolina and the over.
I think they were limiting his workload. He was like getting like random benching opportunities and stuff like that. They were sitting him down through like random stints of the game, and I don't know what's going on there with him and Tortorella.
He was one of those guys where his rookie season, I picked him up off waivers in a fantasy hockey league, and he went nuts, and he looked very good for Winnipeg for a few seasons, and then like something like what's going on now, or even before the season, it was shocking because you disconnect from hockey during baseball and football, and then you just dive right in, and everyone said how awful Lalane was playing, and it was shocking to me. So hopefully he can get it together. So he's always been a favorite of mine, just because I added him on waivers, and he, helped me immensely in that year.
No, he's got that talent, but I see him as just kind of more of a one-dimensional, one-way player. Doesn't really go both ways on the ice, and that has come to fruition in more recent history. So, but let's move on to the next one. We got Calgary Flames and Ottawa Senators. Senators home dogs plus 156 on the money line, plus 1.5 on the puck line. Over under is at 6 goals. Chris, you took the under here. I actually took the over. Every time these guys have met, they've hit over 6 goals. What am I missing tonight?
Well, when you look at Calgary at Ottawa, I think it's going to be, if you give me a moment, I can scroll down on my notes here. I think it's going to be, Calgary is 2-5, their last 7 on the road. The over, as you said, is cashed in 5 of the last 6, and Ottawa's having a very poor season. They've lost 23 of their last 32, I believe. Calgary has won 12 of their last 17 against an opponent with a losing record, as I've said. So the Flames have won 4 of their last 6 overall. I just think Calgary comes out and says, hey, we're better and we're going to assert our dominance here. But I still do believe it's a very slow start. It's not going to be wild. And again, I have the final at 3-1 in favor of Calgary.
Okay, fair enough. Right now, I'm looking at Ottawa up 1-0. So it is a bit of a slow start. They just started the second period, so not too much scoring right out of the gate. What do you think about this one, Nick?
I was going to take Calgary winning by 2. Ottawa's I was looking at the standings, and Calgary is actually kind of like at the bottom tier of that division, but it's like a cliff after them because they have 33 points and Ottawa has 23. It's just like the JV team of that division. Everybody's been beating up on them. I'm going to take Calgary plus 2.
Yeah, it's really hard to pick Ottawa to win, and Calgary has been good recently. What was it, 4-2 straight up in their last 6? So they're starting to come on a little bit more. And I know that they've had some rough patches this season. I just like the over. I didn't pick a winner, with the books per se. I'd pick Calgary to win, but I definitely didn't put that, with my money where my mouth is with that pick. I did take the over though, so I need a little bit more action here. I need this to pick up a little bit, and I just simply went. I was like, every time they've played each other, it's gone to the over. I'll take it. It's a trend I'm willing to ride. So.
I'm going to write this one down and we'll revisit it. I'll message you in the morning because they said I have the under, you have the over. Let's see what happens.
Let's see how it goes. Next one up, we've got the Islanders visiting the Flyers. Islanders coming in as road favorites, plus 200 for minus 1.5 on the puck line, minus 120 on the money line. The Flyers plus 109 and totals at 5.5 goals. I like the over here. The Flyers have been scoring, but they're not winning. I think that's a very solid trend to follow tonight. The 5.5 is just too low for me with how often the Flyers have been scoring. And I think, Chris, you said you did take the Islanders in this one. Did you have them to cover the 2 or just the money line? I'm just taking them to win straight up.
No, I'm going to take them to cover because I have it as a final. New York 5 and then Philly 3. Phillies have been having massive issues keeping the puck out of their own net here, and they're averaging about 3.55 goals a game, but they've given up 31 goals their last 6 games. So Philly, they gave up 6 goals their last time out on Saturday against the Islanders. So therefore, the play for me is the over here. If you look at the over has cashed. I'm shocked you missed this one. The over has cashed in 9 of the last 12 games played on Philadelphia's home ice between these two teams here. So my best play is the over, final, as I said, 5-2, 5-3 in favor of the Islanders.
Yeah, I just had the Flyers at 7-0 in their last 7 games to the over. That was the one that I saw.
Are you guys completely discounting Anders Lee being missed for the season?
No, I'm not, because he's on my fantasy team. But whoever they had fill in, I mean, We'll get to like the trade deadline talk in a bit. I mean, there's definitely some names that I would like to see them pursue, but the guys that they've had filling in have been, stellar. I don't know if Pajot's filling in on that line.
It's Trotz.
What's that?
It's Trotz. Trotz gets right. That's why he took the Caps to the Stanley Cup. I couldn't believe he left, but he's doing good things in New York Islanders. I did see like when Chris mentioned about how he's stacking lines and mentioned the Islanders and he mentioned Anders Lee. I was like, man, I could have sworn he'd been knocked out for the season. I confirmed it on the.
I put my hand over my heart when he said his name. I put my hand on my heart.
Yeah,
I heard a little bit.
Yeah, because I know he was good, and him and Barzal, like they're legit. But it sucks that he's out. But Trotz keeps his men pretty locked tight. The Caps, when they won the Stanley Cup, it was like 3 lines of like good guys and great disciplined play.
Sorry, I was trying to look up who they had replacing Anders Lee. Sorry. I was trying to look up who they had replacing Anders Lee.
I mean, if you look at it, the first line is Barzal, Eberle, and Leo Komarov, and then the second line is Brock Nelson, Josh Bailey, and Anthony Bevelier. So those are just
who they moved up. Who they moved up was Bevelou into the top 6. That's the name was escaping me.
And I like that.
Yeah, it's not bad, but I just think, like Chris mentioned too, like they play pretty good defensively. Like they're a pretty even keeled team, right? They really manage the highs and lows. They're not one of those teams that we've seen go off for like 6+ goals in a night, right? But they play really good defense and they play really good 2-way hockey. Anders Lee, believe me, was a big part of that. I'm a huge Anders Lee fan. Notre Dame roots, all about him. But yeah, I mean, he's on long-term IR too, so I don't even think they expect him back this season unless they make like a deep run.
Oh, okay. Come back to the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't the Islanders play in the Stanley Cup final last year or make the Eastern Conference Finals?
Eastern Conference Finals, yeah.
Eastern Conference Finals, yeah. And they're another team. They're another team, as I've said, when hockey is just better when certain teams are good. And I find hockey to be that much more exciting when the Islanders are playing well and exciting.
Yeah, they have a very an energetic fan base, I'll say. I mean, and I guess that's that way with hockey, with any club, right? When the team's rolling, the fan bases are really hot. But the Islanders and also the Sabres, who you mentioned earlier, they have like really low key, high end fan bases. So their fans really get behind them in big ways when things are going well.
I mean, for New York Islander fans, like basically they lived the dynasty years when they won like 4 straight in the 70s. So like, everybody lives, that stuff's passed down generation to generation. And hockey is like one of those sports that, if your father loved that team, then you're going to follow that team. And when that team is actually doing really good, it brings up like, it's crazy because you would think that the Rangers are like the biggest team in New York, but I think the Islanders are like crazy. Like those guys, those people get really raucous, and Buffalo and the New York Islanders make the NHL a lot better when they're winning because those are great fan bases, and it just brings up a lot of noise for the NHL. Hopefully, they get better for the ESPN deal. So,
I think ESPN is hoping the exact same. Like, hey, what about some of these like this handful of teams down here? Are you sure you need more teams in this league? Unreal. And these are not your grandfather's Islanders or your grandfather's Calgary Flames. I think the last time the Calgary Flames won a cup, I was born. It was Lance McDonald, 1989.
Oh,
fun trivia. Who
going way back? Yeah.
Oh yeah, red mustache and everything. Let's go. All right, next matchup. We're going West Coast. Anaheim Ducks going to the Minnesota Wild. Ducks coming in as road dogs, +1.5 on the puck line, +218 on the money line. Minnesota Wild, big favorites, -245. Over/under is sitting at 5.5 goals. I think the Wild are a pretty easy pick, as Chris alluded to. Ducks earlier are really bad. Good team to stream against, whether it's DFS or betting alike. So I'm keeping it simple, going with the Wild here. I don't know how I feel about the over. Do either of you lean extremely one way or over the other?
Yeah, I'm extremely on the over. I think that Minnesota Wild hit the over on by themselves. I think Minnesota scores 6 goals tonight, and I'm not kidding. I'm not just saying that for because we're on a broadcast and I'm trying to make a name for myself being a weirdo. But I firmly do believe that Minnesota scores 6 goals tonight, and the total, mind you, has gone over in 6 of the last games for Anaheim. They're 1-5 in their last 6, 1-4 in their last 5 against Minnesota. And the over for Minnesota's gone, it's gone over the last 11 of 16 games for them. So they have a good offense playing against a horrible defense. So Minnesota will win big time. They're going to score. I think the final will be like 6-1. So that adds up to 7 goals, but Minnesota will hit the over by themselves.
I don't doubt it, and especially just because Minnesota got housed by the Avalanche. What was that, like 6-0 or 5-0? They got a big one knocked in on them. So I'm thinking that they're trying to run that back and maybe get a little bit revenge. It's not Colorado, but hey, somebody's got to take the beating. What do you think, Nick?
So I'm watching it actually live because it's on NBC Sports Network. It's 0-0 with 3 minutes left in the first. The Ducks actually made a great defensive stop and took the puck, and then the Minnesota guy who lost the puck committed a holding penalty. So now Anaheim's on the power play. So, I mean, all the signs point to like Minnesota just completely housing Anaheim. But watching it live right now, like Anaheim's playing pretty solid against Minnesota. And 6 goals to score in 2 periods, that's a tall order sometimes.
It'll be tough, but hey, if there's a team to do it up against, it's
absolutely.
Anaheim.
You know what?
Did John Gibson take the net tonight?
Huh?
Did John Gibson take the net tonight? Sorry.
I do not know. I see Talbot in, but that's for the Wild.
But look, Ryan Miller is starting for the Ducks tonight.
Yeah,
in Minnesota.
Let's go. Yeah, I still think that can happen. But as far as trends go, Anaheim was traditionally for most of the season a team that was leading towards the under. So more recently, I was surprised too when I saw that. I was like, hey, these guys are starting to score a little bit. That's awesome. Shout out to Adam Henrique, who filled in for my Leon Draisaitl pick tonight after that game was canceled. So if I can get a little bit low key value from him, definitely low percentage play for sure. But he's on our fantasy waiver wire tonight, so I popped him in there. Nice little plug. So they've been scoring a little bit more recently. So I would have been on the over there myself, but I would have thought it would not necessarily because Minnesota would just put up 6-0 on them or 6-2. I still figured it'd be kind of like a 5-3 kind of game, but we'll see what we can get here. Still plenty of time left.
Anaheim looks so young. Like I'm looking at their bench and like, you get the Caps and they're like grizzled veterans everywhere, like gray hair. I mean, you got him, you got Ryan Miller, but like just looking at like a lot of their guys that are like on the ice, they're like, man, like these are like kids, like guys that should be honestly like seniors in college, but like, I don't know. That's just like my one takeaway watching him. I haven't seen him play all season, but yeah.
Where's Teemu Solani?
Yeah.
Paul Kariya.
Yeah, Paul Kariya. Is he still asleep?
Yammer Yager's still playing.
He is. Cheers.
He's unbelievable.
Give him a call.
What bums me out is the Wings. They passed him up to draft Keith Primo. We could have had Yager on the Wings, but they drafted Keith Primo instead in the early 90s.
Hey, I wouldn't have minded that either because then the Penguins wouldn't take down the Hawks for back-to-back cups. So I wouldn't have hated that either.
There you go.
Next up, we got the Blues traveling to Las Vegas. I don't know why I'm reading it from that sheet. Let's see. Blues road dogs plus 1.5 on the puck line, plus 114 on the money line. Over under is at 5.5. I am riding the Vegas Golden Knights. I've been doing it for a while now. I did get bitten in the butt the other day when they lost to. Doesn't matter. Don't remember who it was. They lost. I didn't make any money on it, but I'm going back to them tonight because they're playing the Blues, and I've been making money on the Blues. I haven't been able to bet against the Blues in the past couple of games because they were playing the Sharks, who, if there's a team that I will not bet for other than the Blues to win, the Sharks are like right there next to them. So, I had to take a couple of days off from not betting up against the Blues, but I'm right back at it tonight. Give me the Vegas Golden Knights on the money line. What do you guys think about the money line and the total here?
I think Vegas pulls out the win. I mean, I don't really like St. Louis. I mean, they're kind of falling apart. Like, honestly, like, Jordan Binghamton, like after what he did, and then he gets like what did he sign the contract and then do the fake punch? Like I don't even know. It's all confusing to me at this point. Yeah, but why? Like he's not performing in any kind of way. Krug hasn't been any kind of beneficial to coming to the team. I'm gonna say Vegas wins this one just because I believe in the Vegas Knight a lot more than St. Louis Blues.
Personally, yeah, I'm with you. I have Vegas winning, St. Louis Blues winning like 3-2. And the only reason why is, people, you talk about basketball, football, it's not a thing. Hockey players playing on back-to-back nights, that's a real thing. That's a real, stat that we can look up and hold and see it in our hands. And Vegas this is their second game in a back-to-back here. And again, if you look at the Blues, they have a great offense and the Blues have shown up in really good spots on offense, but in other games they've struggled. So I'm looking for the Blues to play really good in this one. Vegas as well, but Vegas is going to run out of steam, and St. Louis it'll be tied 2-2 with about 5 or 6 minutes left in the third period, and then St. Louis just gets one in the last 5-6 minutes of the game, and that's how it ends. Blues 3-2.
No, don't do it to me. It would be the first time I lost betting against the Blues in a while. So, I mean, I'd be due. It'd be, as far as the gambling gods go, it'd be fair, right? But I'm riding against them, man, until they give me a reason not to. Like I said, couldn't do it up against the Sharks, and believe me, I wanted to. I wanted to bet with the Sharks, but I just wouldn't do it. You got to get some of that, hometown blood out of you sometimes. You got to get back to those trends.
Check this one out real quick. So the Golden Knights, this is a legit thing. I told you can really see something and hold it. The Golden Knights are 16-5 in their last 21 games playing on 0 days rest. Ooh. What other sport can you get that kind of analysis? That's 16-5 their last 21 games playing in a back-to-back game, 0 rest.
Hopefully it's just as good as how often the Kings covered. that's all I can hope, It's always a number until we get the result, right? So, no, that's awesome, though, especially for hockey. And that's why I like betting up against hockey. I mean, we'll kind of get into the DFS versus gambling versus daily here in a bit. But, those numbers speak to me more so than like DFS would, right? So I really lend to hockey for sports betting in general. I can't necessarily I won't feel as comfortable laying like a 4-game hockey pick over like an NBA 4-game. I'll feel much safer with my NHL pick still, because those trends just feel, just more safe.
I couldn't agree more. I firmly believe that's how I've bet on hockey for years now, 5-6 years.
All right on. So let's move on to the next one. We got a couple more to close it out here. Avalanche traveling to Arizona. They're going in as road favorites, minus 235 on the money line, plus 110 to hit the cover of minus 1.5. Over under is at 5.5 goals. Got the Avalanche tied up with the Rangers in one of my best bets for tonight. So I'm riding with them. Coyotes, they're good, but they're not great. Certainly not as good as Colorado Avalanche, who have been one of the best teams in the league. You guys going any different direction here on the money line? And what do you think about the total?
No, I'm going Colorado. I'm going Colorado, no doubt. And I instead of playing the money lines, because I'm not too sure who's going to. I mean, you could say you're not too sure who's going to win the game, but I do know who's going to win. Colorado's going to win about 4-1. So we're going to hit on the under by like a half a goal, which is fine by me. Avalanche, they're playing very good, as you said, one of the best teams in hockey. And Arizona hasn't been awful. They've been a very exciting team to bet on, or more so in DFS formats to stack in the right setting, but tonight's just not the night for Arizona.
Yeah, I'm just going Colorado. They're streaking right now, and Arizona did win their last game, but it was against Anaheim. Before that, they lost 5 straight. They did beat Colorado 3-2, but it hasn't been pretty since then, to be completely honest. So I'm going to say Colorado rights to strip against them.
All right, right on. Next up, we got the Jets traveling to Vancouver, coming in as road favorites, minus 123 on the money line. We got a game total of 6 goals here. I still like the Jets, even with Demko and net. Nick, I know you like Vancouver whenever they're running Thatcher over there. Are you going to ride with them tonight as the plus 111 on the money line?
Probably not. The goalie can only go so far in the NHL. Like, you need to have a good defense in front of them. I'm looking at their game log. They're 4-1 in their last 5 games. Kind of streaking, but I think Winnipeg is going to pull it out. Vancouver isn't one of the top teams in the NHL, so I'm going to say that they're going to win, or the Jets are going to win. Sorry.
To me personally, Vancouver, I need to look, like maybe at the All-Star break or something, put a collection together of my stacks, my favorite stacks so far. And Vancouver's got to be up there. I stack Vancouver almost every night that they're playing. But if you look at what's going on tonight, both teams are coming off of a loss, and they're both going to play well. I don't doubt that. But the Canucks are going to stall, and they're not going to be able to keep pace with the Winnipeg Jets. So would you say the over-under is 6? I have Winnipeg winning 4-2. So, either way you face it, it'd be a wash. So I'm going to bet Winnipeg minus, what was it, 120, 123 here. So Winnipeg minus 123. If you want a final score prediction for that kind of bet, Winnipeg wins 4-2.
So still taking the under then.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, very, very good. Yeah, I like the under there as well. With Demko and net, I think that does give them a little bit more of an upside defensively. Obviously, with Holtby, I mean, he let in a beach ball, right? Like Nick likes to say, he lets in 1, he'll let in 2, he'll let in 3 every time. So I give them a little bit more trust, but I can't take them on the money line, just not enough there. And I still think the Jets are a better team, even in that division. That's really convoluted, right? Like Nick mentioned earlier, it really drops off after Calgary all the way down to Ottawa, and you have these other guys at the top, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Montreal, just really just balancing each other out. I don't find any one of them overwhelmingly better than the other. All right, last up here, we got the Kings traveling to San Jose. Kings coming in as the plus option on the road, plus 114 on the money line. Over under is at 5.5 goals. San Jose to hit the minus 1.5 for them to cover 2 goals is at plus 185. Where are you guys at on this one?
I don't trust San Jose. I mean, they're better than the Ducks right now, but San Jose is so weak sometimes, and I think the Kings. I think they're getting their act together. They're not, top of the line in an NHL, but they have some veterans that are keeping them mid-tier, keeping them in the fight. So, but San Jose doesn't give up much of the fight. So I'm gonna say the Kings win. I'm gonna say if they do cover the plus 1.5.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Kings plus 105 here. Kings are playing in back-to-back games in this one. So, again, Nick, you kind of alluded to it. The Sharks are in a good spot to really, steal one here at home in the Shark Tank, as they say. But the Sharks are going to struggle, as they always do. And the Kings will be able to play, good defensively. And the Kings will get the win in this one. I have the final being Kings 3, San Jose 2. So, it'll be a lot closer than people think.
All right, right on. Yeah, I think the under is a good play there as well. The Kings play really good two-way hockey. They get scoring out of all 4 lines, and everybody has a defensive layer to them on each line. So I'm going to take the Kings and the under there.
Okay.
All right, cool. So let's move over to our fantasy waiver wire. We're also going to toss in a few hot DFS plays or guys that are performing better than average. They're year long. Fantasy play and daily fantasy. So we'll take it from the top here with fantasy waiver wire. I've got Adam Henrique. He's got 3 goals in 3 consecutive games. 2 assists a couple of games ago, 10 points, 12 points, 18 points his last 3 games. We mentioned the Ducks, they haven't been scoring for most of the season, been a team that leans more to the under. Recently, they're scoring a lot more. Adam Henrique's a big part of it. I threw him in my DFS lineup tonight after Edmonton game was canceled. I had to, replace Leon and McDavid tonight. So hoping he can get another goal, but he's only 12% rostered in fantasy. So I think he's a very heavy streaming option right now. I picked him up myself. I would recommend you guys do the same. What do you guys think?
I think he's a good streaming option. I like his shots on goal, and then also he gives blocks as a center. So those are 2 points, 2-point categories where you can get those extra points. So I definitely put him on my team.
When it comes to a guy like Henrique, you could even, delete the name and just put in Joe Schmo. He's $4,600 on FanDuel. He stayed there, around, so far this season, a little less before, his current hot streak, but $4,600 for a guy that when you look at what he's doing, he plays on the second line, but he also plays on their first power play unit along the likes of Cam Fowler on defense, Richard Raquel, Max Jones. So, I mean, it's not the most, exciting, sexy power play unit, but you're still getting minutes on a first power play unit. And on a power play, in a 2-minute long power play, the first unit normally stays on for well over a minute 20, minute 25, something along those lines. So in terms of value for $4,600, it's a no-brainer to me, because when I fill out my lineup, I mean, we'll get to this when we get there. I don't want to bury the lead here, but I look for my favorite stack of the day, and then I do that. I start with the goalie, actually. Then I stack my first line and add 2 defensemen, and then I got 3 empty spots to fill, and I'm not changing anything around. So whatever money I have left, that's what I'm using. So if you're telling me I can fill out a whole roster aside from 2 people, including Henrique, with drastically low price, that's a no-brainer for me. There's been guys like this all season, but right now, since we're on the topic of Henrique, he makes for an absolutely fantastic one-off kind of play. Or if you want to stack him with the first power play unit, which is also cheap. Cam Fowler's 43, Raquel is 50, the most expensive at 5,600. So adding Adam Henrique is fantastic. I used to stack him when he played for the Devils, so glad he's having some sort of success this season.
Yeah, and he also plays on the penalty kill too, so he gets even more opportunities there. I think he actually has he either has like 2, he just has 2 shorthanded points, so 2 shorthanded points. So he adds value all over the place. I'm a big fan of his. Same back to his days with the Devils. Who's the next guy up, Nick?
Is it Jonas Donskey?
Yeah, sounds about right.
It sounds good to me. He had the day off, or no, the game hasn't started yet. The previous 3 games, he had 13.9, 9.8, 13.9. So 2 assists, 1 goal, 2 assists, alternating. Basically, he's due for 2 assists. He gets shots on goal. He does get some blocks. He's only 5% rostered. It'd be a great streaming option to rotate in your lineup to get those 13 and 9 points. I mean, right now he's probably due for 9 points.
I don't see why not. I mean, 2 assists, 1 goal, 2 assists, 1 goal. That's his last 4 games. He's just going back and forth. He's due for a goal tonight, right?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think, Chris?
Absolutely. And again, it's like, for the layman, right? In fantasy football, you want pieces from good offenses. I would take anything I could get from the Kansas City Chiefs, if that makes any sense. So I look to that as the same as hockey. Colorado Avalanche is fantastic, and they're one of the more premier offenses aside from, let's say, Edmonton here. So you're telling me, Donskey, who used to play for San Jose, just trying to show off my impressive hockey chops here. Donskey played for San Jose, but now when he's with Colorado, anytime he sees on the ice is a positive for me. So in seasonal formats, absolutely he's an ad. And then in terms of DFS formats, given the right kind of matchup, let's see if he's getting any ice time on the first power play, second power play, and we'll go from there. So you can't go wrong with him.
Absolutely. We did the exact same thing with Andrej Palat earlier in the year when, he wasn't, quite at the level that he's at now with his total production, but he was just starting to come on and he was in our fantasy waiver wire. And that's what both me and Nick just said. He's like, he plays for Tampa Bay. He plays on the top line. Why shouldn't you own him?
Yeah.
That's all they do is score, score, score. You just want to be a part of that. So yeah, absolutely. Another good situation where the guy's just in the right spot, right time, getting to play with, great players, Landeskog, Mikko Rantanen. It's a good situation over there in Colorado right now. Next up, we've got Thomas Nosek for the Vegas Golden Knights. Only 1% owned. Let's see, in his last 3 games, he's got a goal and 3 assists. He's a +1 across those 3 games, getting a lot of shots on net, 6 shots on goal his last 2 games. He's only sprinkled in 1 block in there, but he's just another really good streamer. And I'll throw the Vegas Golden Knights into that mix of just teams where, hey, you want to grab every little bit that you can because there's always a lot of offense available, and they're always, finding wins for sure, but they do put up a healthy amount of offense as well.
Yeah, I mean, basically they were built with not 1 star and then fill in the roster. It's basically all second line guys. It's all glue guys, and they're a very good team. I take anybody from top to bottom, especially someone that's 1% rostered. He's definitely in the blind spot of a lot of people.
100%. Seasonal formats, absolutely. Given that's what we're allowed to do playing seasonal formats. Mm-hmm. We're able to grab guys, ride the wave, and then dump them off if we don't want them. In terms of DFS formats, this is exactly what you're looking to do, especially in hockey. You see a guy, you grab him, and if you look at, I know the people watching now can't see the graphic, but his minutes have gone up basically every day since he was added there. March 10th, he played 9 minutes, and then if you look back at March 19th, 13, 15 minutes, 10 minutes again. So if these guys are getting ice time, and I know without a doubt he is the bare minimum price. He's like $3,500 on FanDuel, and on DraftKings he's in the twos. So adding him all day.
Love it, absolutely love it, especially for that cheap. That's great. That's crazy value, $3,500. Next one up, we've got Pierre-Luc Dubois. 72% rostered. I'm not sure why he was even available here. Goal and assist in his last game. Had a night off on points the night before, but 3 assists. He has those little lumps where the production is low, but I feel like he consistently gets the puck to the net enough where he should be consistently rostered here. Had 3 blocks a couple of nights ago. What do you guys think? I mean, I feel like the Jets are kind of a stagnant team. They really ride highs and lows pretty often. But is Pierre-Luc Dubois a guy that you'll roster all season, or just a wave that you'll ride?
I feel like based on what we're seeing with the stats that are in front of us, I mean, he's kind of waking up. We see 3 assists, and then we see a goal 2 games later. He's getting a lot more shots on goal. He's putting himself in front of the net. If he was available in my league, I'd put him on there because I think he's starting to catch his swing in Winnipeg.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Pierre-Luc Dubois, $5,400 on FanDuel tonight, and more, probably tomorrow too. And he was headlining one of my favorite stacks today. Winnipeg second line there, second line on the power play. So he's able to skate with Kyle Connor on the second power play, and Nikolaj Ehlers on the second power play. So to the casual fan, you might just in passing you brush it off, but look at his minutes. It's shocking to me. 23 minutes, then, or no, excuse me, 14, 15 minutes, and then 17 minutes on the 20th here. So you're telling me 18 to 20 minute kind of guy is that cheap on DFS formats? Sign me up, absolutely. And I hope he doesn't make me look silly because he headlined my favorite stacks tonight.
I'm sure he'll catch the ticket for you. Let's go. Do you have anything to close on him, Nick?
Nope, not at all. You want me to go over to the next one?
Yeah, who you got?
So it's Gustav Forzaling, a defenseman for the Florida Panthers. He's only 1% rostered, but in his last, let's say 4 games, he's got 2 goals and assists. He's getting some shots on goal, getting blocks. So his previous production, fantasy point wise, against Tampa was 10.8, against Nashville 4.7. The game before that was a negative game. Only negative 0.2. Chicago, though, was a win 6-3, 17.8 points. He's heating up. He's figuring it out a little bit. You see that he gets 19, 20 minutes a game. I put him on the team just to see, if I can catch him on a night where I need a defenseman and maybe get some points out of him.
Yeah, he's been playing really well recently. I'm all about him. He's a Joe Quenneville guy. I'm not sure if Joel drafted him or they just acquired him while he was in Chicago. But he obviously, with those types of minutes, he's showing a lot of trust in him. So I'm all about it. He's getting plenty of scoring opportunities. Is he on the power play, Chris?
That I do not know. I could double check and get back to you.
I gotta imagine with those types of minutes, he's got to be. I would just assume that he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I wanted to say is, in terms of defensemen, those are like, if you compare it to football, there's a million wide receivers, there's a million defensemen, and what sets that certain defensemen apart for me is time on the ice. And you, as Nick said, 19, 20 plus minutes. That's what you're looking for in a defenseman. If you're on the ice that much, something good is bound to happen. Couple block shots, an assist. Anything to accumulate points. Ice time equals opportunity. Opportunity equals points.
Volume is king. Always. Absolutely. Next guy we got up is Justin Schultz of the Washington Capitals. 22% rostered, so should be available most likely. Let's see. In his last 4 games, he's got 4 assists. So coming on, recently, as far as like his total season production, he was +4 a handful of nights ago. Actually, Doesn't seem like necessarily a regular occurrence for him, but gets a decent amount of shots on net, grabs about a block a game. Somebody that you're willing to roster, guys?
I think so. I mean, the +4 was against Buffalo, so what are you gonna do? But he is getting some points. He is getting a lot of playing time on a defensive unit that has Zeno Sharov, who's basically a lower line guy. So he's still getting a lot of playing time, 19, 20 minutes a couple times in here. So he's got to be on the power play. I would have him on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. As again, if you're on the ice, then something good is bound to happen. If you look at his what he's done, 17, 16, 19, 20, and then 18 the other day there. So Justin Schultz is a guy who I believe I think he played for Carolina a season or two ago, and he's always around the puck if I'm thinking of him correctly. And most leagues, not DFS for sure, doesn't count plus or minus, but shots on goal, blocks, all that. So if you got ice time, I'm gonna want you on my team. So Justin Schultz to me is an addition, giving the format of your team.
All right on. Let's move into the goalies, and we'll wrap up the fantasy wire here. I got Antti Raanta. This is just a stream start in my opinion. His backup is just far worse than he is. I think it was Aiden Hill. He's let in 3 goals in 3 consecutive games. Raanta has been pretty solid. Took home a win up against the Ducks, 5-1 win, had 27 saves, on 28 shots. Did lose to the Wild, but he had 31 saves in a losing effort, so it still got him about 9 points. You like to see that, bring home some bacon, despite, it being well done. Colorado took home a loss, 2 goals against, but 44 saves. That's awesome. And then a win before that, but against Colorado, only 16 saves. Guys in front of him played really well. I'm all about him, honestly. I think that I think you should just own him until he gives you a reason not to. It's really just that the split there is not equal. When his backup is in net, they're going to need him between the pipes for the foreseeable future. I could see the Coyotes as a buyer for a depth piece in goal here. What do you guys think about Raanta?
I would put him on my team. He seems to be rolling compared to his backup. Teams sometimes do play better against or in front of other goalies. And Raanta right now is that guy in Arizona based on the record that I'm seeing. He seems to have like 2 wins for every 1 loss, but then his backup loses three goals or 3 games. So I would put him on my team to rotate in and out.
Raanta is the perfect guy to own for, the seasonal hockey owner that is very quick on the draw, that likes to play waivers, because Raanta is a guy you just keep on your team in case you ever get in a pinch. Your starting goalie or your 2 starting goalies, whatever. If they're declared out, I don't know. But in DFS formats, Raanta makes for a nice play on the nights that he starts in kind of big tournaments. So he's not going to win you a ton of money, but he's a nice kind of back end piece to complement your other roster.
What's he going for, like price wise, like middle of the run, low end?
Yeah, he's like normally a goalie. The most expensive goalies like Fredrickson in Toronto, they're like $8,900, but you're like a Raanta, I believe last time he was out was probably $6,400, which is really nice for a starting goalie, because in a way
doable for sure. Your
starting goalie is kind of the anchor of your team in terms of points. If you want to take down any sort of big tournament, you need your goalie to be 3-4 times value.
All right on. Yeah, I think Raanta. I was looking at him today. I was gonna pop him in there. Couldn't bring myself to do it. Couldn't do it. Just didn't love the matchup tonight. Next up, we got Ilya Sorkin. Last one here. Only 1 goal allowed in his last game. 23 saves. Back-to-back wins. He doesn't play a lot. That's the only thing. Varlamov is playing very well there for the Islanders. Sorkin though is still 48% owned, despite his lack of consistent playing time. Just a streaming option I think you guys need to be looking out for. He's solid. You shouldn't, back down from him if you see his name available just because he is the backup. It's kind of a similar situation in Nashville. Well, actually not so similar, because Husso, or the backup Husso, he's just better than Rene in my opinion. But recently they've been kind of, trading spots here. But don't back away from him because he's the backup goalie. He's been playing very well recently. Just another stream start, and I'm not sure who's actually in net tonight for either of them, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, yeah, Sorkin started tonight. He's $8,300 on FanDuel, and playing against the Philly Flyers, as I've said, I fully expect the Islanders to hang 4 or 5 goals in this one. So as long as he doesn't completely implode, you're going to get at least a win from him, and a dozen, 2 dozen saves or so. So Sorkin is a guy I've always kept an eye out because I like the offense, on a daily basis from the Islanders that back him up. Very high end kind of streaming goalie in my perspective.
Yeah, it looks that way. Like I said, 48% owned, so people are on him.
I'll take anybody coached by Trotz. So yeah, solid guy. Good enough for me. 48% roster as a backup. That's solid. He's balling when he gets in.
Yeah. Barry Trotz, I saw I won't be too long on this one, but Barry Trotz, nobody ever paid attention to him. I think he coached in Nashville. He coached in Dallas briefly, but I saw like a special on him. He has a special needs Down syndrome son, and he's so kind to the mentally impaired community. And I just love that his son is on the ice skating with the guys, and Barry Trotz is just a very good man. And that's, if anybody that knows me, when I talk, fantasy sports, high character guys mean everything to me, and Barry Trotz is a very high character kind of guy.
I think that a lot of the players that play for him kind of see the relationship that he has with his son, and I think that really helps him instill just a very strong family culture in the locker room, which is very underrated in the NHL. How much these guys really need to be connected to each other. With football, it's always different, right? You always have a new set of guys in the field, constantly rotating out. With hockey, it's like that every 30 seconds. There's a big level of trust that goes into the game of hockey, and I think that Trotz really instills that in his locker room culture because of that relationship that is highlighted with him and his son, and just because his son's always around. His son's always in the locker room. He's always there for warm-ups and pre-skate and all that. I'm sure things are a little bit different now with COVID, right? But I think that follows him everywhere he goes, like that culture of family that he instills. He's
a selfless guy, and he's kind of the sum is greater than the parts. Like putting it all together. I don't care. I'm not going to stack lines because I dislike you or because you were late. He's going to do whatever he can do to put the entire team and organization in the driver's seat to win. And I know for a fact hockey players love that kind of mentality. They don't need to be talked down to. They don't need to be, benched or I'm moving you down to the third line because, you did something silly or, so Barry Trotz is a good man. Yeah.
Absolutely. All about Barry. We got a lot of Barry Trotz left. Let's wrap up some of the hot DFS plays. I'm looking at Martin Nikas here. If you want to go through some of these names, Martin Nikas, I believe, already has a goal tonight. I saw.
Yeah, Nikas has been unbelievable for a few weeks now. He plays in Carolina again, as I've said. I love stacking their first line. Anytime Aho's on the ice, you have to pay attention to him. And if I look at it, Nikas is playing on the first line with Aho, and it looks to be Nino Niederreiter. He plays on the first line, plays on the first power play unit, and he's only $4,400. It's insane to me. Wow. He's $4,400, and he's been hotter than a pistol for like a few weeks now. So people take notice. I do all that I can to kind of show these people, in terms of my stacks. I always stack Carolina 1, and I always make sure to add Nikas as a one-off or in my line. So don't let Nikas pass you by. Samuel Gerard, Colorado's young defenseman. He's been getting a ton of playing time. He got bumped up to, I believe, the first line for a handful of minutes the last few times out. I think his home is the second or third line, but if he can get on the ice,
still, right?
Yeah, so he reminds me of Cole Maker, who is an unbelievable talent. He's a stud. So Samuel Gerard at his price, I don't have it in front of me here. Let me find that real quick. I hate to stall the show here, but yeah, Samuel Gerard is $4,600. He's on the second line in the second power play unit. No brainer to me. Timo Meyer, San Jose's winger. He's always been around, hanging with Logan Couture, or he reminds me of Thomas Hurdle, but Timo Meyer is $5,600, second line, second power play unit. And to tie this thing up in a little bow here is Jacob Chichurin, I think is how you say his name, for Arizona. And every time they play, I stack him. He plays on the first line, plays on the first power play unit. stays at around $4,000. He's $4,200 tonight. I have him at about 10.5 points for DFS format. So get Jacob in your line, because I've noticed in both bottom of the barrel for football and hot pucking stacks in the NHL, daily and my daily, weekly kind of thing, it kind of foreshadows that the next day or the next week on waivers, if that makes sense.
Sure. I had Chytrin in my DFS lineup today. Like I told you guys at the top of the show, I don't do DFS a lot, but having Chris Robin on, Chris Robin Day, I figure I'll throw myself out there. Jump into
Chris
DFS
Robin.
Day. Yeah, Chris Robin Day. Having Chris Robin on the show. That's what the day was when I got up. I was like, oh hey, having Chris Robin on tonight.
I know, I loved it.
It's Chris Robin Day. So yeah, I had Chytrin in there. I didn't have any of those other names in the mix, but I like that I got that one right, at least I feel like I got it right. Having someone like you that knows what they're talking about with DFS, saying as much. So with that, let's jump into some questions for Chris. We're just going to ask you, going over some DFS strategies, what you like to do. If you want, just kind of how you got into DFS. Just kind of start there, like why you like DFS over like game picks or regular season long, or if you like those more than DFS for some reason.
Well, I got involved in this whole thing. I heard a FanDuel commercial in 2012 or 2013. I was on the freeway and said, "You want to try your luck? It's something new." And I had been playing seasonal for 20 years at the time. 1995 was my first football draft. But nice. when it came to hockey and DFS, I couldn't find the content I was looking for. In today's day and age, it's just watered down. It's everywhere. But 7-8 years ago, it was nowhere to be found. So I said, you know what? I can't find it. I'll just make it myself. And it just kind of snowballed into what you're seeing today. And hockey's always been my favorite sport. Nick mentioned this earlier in the broadcast. My father was a massive Red Wings fan. We had season tickets. We went to card shows. So him and I were, really tight in terms of Red Wings and the Lions. And I will never get away from that. But I got started in it because it was just a chance moment on the freeway where I heard, the commercial. And I've always been, kind of that strategic thinker, playing baseball my whole life. You're all, this guy's a left-handed bat. He hit it. You're always talking numbers and strategic moves. And I feel like DFS, I can kind of, think outside the box. And, my plan or my method is better than a lot of people in the game, just from experience and just the way that I'm always thinking. It might come off as sociopathic, but it gets the job done.
If you say so. That's funny. That's funny. So how do your lines come to be? Like, what are some numbers or trends that you look at the most often? Like, you mentioned before, like you start with your first stack and the goalie.
Correct. Yeah. To me, it's easy peasy, and this is for all sports, for all DFS sports. It's a time on the field. What are you in the starting roster for baseball? How many innings are you pitching? And for hockey, it's ice time. If you're on the ice 20 plus minutes, then you're golden. You got the heart emojis popping up everywhere. And if you look at some of those old school guys like Brett Burns or Ryan Sutter, these guys are on the ice 28 to 32 minutes a game. I mean, that's just a dream for DFS formats. And again, when I build my line, I start with the goalie first. Goalie and my first stack, and then I go defenseman, and then I fill in from there. Every day it's kind of different to me. Sometimes I'll do goalie and my fill in my wingers and centers, and then I work on the cheapy kind of defenseman. And again, the cheapest defenseman on FanDuel, I believe, is $4,000, $4,200. So if I got like $8,000 left in 2 defenseman spots, I will comb through defenseman. I don't care what the name is, what team you play for. If you're $4,000 and you're on the ice 15 to 18 minutes, then I'm going to plug you in and be golden from there. And again, every day it's different given the teams and given the matchup. Someday it's a just start with centers kind of day. Some days it's a start with defenseman kind of day. And then some days it's winger, but I always start with a goalie. And depending on the contest, if it's a big GPP tournament, which is normally what I like to do in hockey, then I look for guys, like Sorkin for the Islanders. He only plays twice a week, but every time he plays, he's saving 30 shots, but he's only 7,000. Or Antti Ratta, who's $6,400 as a starting goalie, who has the potential, depending on what team he plays, to turn away 40 shots, because that's another thing. Sorry to keep you. It's when you look at goalies, you want them to face a ton of shots, and if they give up 2 or 3 goals, that's fine. But if they save 40 shots in the meantime, then you're going to be more plus than you are negative. So I always start with a goalie, and then every day it's different.
All right, right on. What about like bankroll management? Like how many lines are you rolling out, like full lines each night?
Well, each night with hockey, I learned this playing NBA DFS. I normally play anywhere between 150 to 175, on the weekend or Fridays when I have time. I'm in like the 220s, 230s in terms of entries. But again, I use one line in every entry that I do. People talk about doing that, but I think I feel like nowadays it's kind of like an urban legend, because if you want to GPPs, so I'm talking smaller cash games, 50-50s, double ups, things of that nature. I will literally spend all day just entering contests, dollar contest, $2 contest, 3-man contests, 5-man contests. That's it. But I get into 150, 180 of them. And then, I just put in a dummy line, and then 5 or 10 minutes before lock, I hit my optimizer. I build the guys I want in there. And then I use one line. I keep it simple in every single entry I'm in. And I've noticed over the years, let's say, 150 lineups, at $2, that's $300. I've noticed all I ever try to do is double my entry fees. And I've noticed about 3-4 days a week, I will double. I will pay out 300. I will get 600 back. So I double my contest entry fees, but I can set my watch 1 to 2 times a week. My line it'll be a clear sweep, and you're looking at $1,200, $1,400. I do that at least twice a week. And again, I'm not a big money kind of guy. It's just what I have to do. And again, so 3-4 times a week, I know I can double my money. I can get, $200-$300 back on top of what I spent. And the 1 to 2 other days, I will, hit big time, $1,400-$1,500.
That's what's up. So you're mainly targeting the smaller pools, for, essentially negating risk. So being, if you go up against hundreds of thousands of people,
you might as well buy a lottery ticket.
Exactly. So I like that. I like that, because that's what we try to do here at the Hizzy, is negate risk, right? Try to find that low hanging fruit. So that's a great way to do it. If you guys at home, didn't already have your book bag on, you need to be taking notes here. Chris is taking us to school. I love it. I love it.
Well, here's the thing. I like that you said that, because I'm working on written content to discuss my whole process. And if you notice, I can talk and go, and my hands are moving, and it's very easy for me to get my process out from my brain, out of my mouth, from your ears. But writing it all down is a challenge, and I've been working on that for about 2 months now. And it's going to be my Mona Lisa, my coup de grace. That's what I'm thinking. It'll be, seriously, like a 10 to 12 part series, and every portion of it, I'm going to do a 10 to 12 minute video, and it'll be found on the Undroppables. And believe me, everybody will know when it's done, because again, this is going to be my, my Mona Lisa, what's the Burning Man? I don't know what that thing is called, but it's going to be my end all be all. I don't know if I'll be able to top what I'm doing now, but I'll sure as heck try.
No, I absolutely love it. So you said you're going to drop it with the Undroppables. Are you going to do it on their Twitter, or do they have a website? Well,
it's going to be a written article with the Undroppables, and then I'm going to, back each portion of the article up with a small, 8 to 10 minute kind of broadcast, kind of walking people through it from start to finish, for beginners, to sharks, to regular people like us who, don't have hundreds of dollars to play, every day or, throughout the week. So I think it will captivate everybody, but it'll really, grab a hold of us, us lower kind of guys. Because again, I don't play have thousands of dollars to blow every night. So I think it'll be very well received to everybody.
Nice. I love it. Absolutely love it. We'll read it and share the hell out of it once we get it out here. Looking forward to it. You mentioned optimizers a few times. Do you yourself use an optimizer, or have you built one, or using one through that way, and if you do, which one do you use?
Sure. When I first started in this thing, there was no such thing as an optimizer. It was just kind of, you have to build it yourself and go from there, which I found back then, 5-6 years ago, it was more fun because it was me versus you, my brain, how I think and what I'm doing. And nowadays, you can pay $30-$40 a month and all you got to do is hit enter and it gives you the line. But that's not fun to me. The whole fun is what we're doing now. We're talking strategy. We're talking the ins and outs and why we do what we do. Paying money and hitting enter is no fun. You might as well just go collect bottles or go stand on the corner and panhandle. There's no fun, and you're going to make a couple bucks. But in Optimizer, I use a few of them, and I built one on my own, but I've never shared it with anyone because it was kind of shoddy. But it's gotten good results. But right now, I'm working hand in hand with the data analysis people at the Undroppables, and we're going to build one there for them for the football season. We got nothing but time. But as it stands now, I use RotoQL is fantastic, and then RotoBallers. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. We talk and we chat all the time, and they reached out and said we'd love to give you access to our optimizer, because you're always talking and discussing it with large groups of people. So we'd love to we'll have your back if you have our back. So me and the RotoBallers have a nice little working relationship in terms of an optimizer. It's not the end all be all. People think you can win millions of dollars by just paying and hitting enter, but there's a lot more that goes into that. So I use what I know and I plug those stats in, and then I optimize if I'm really in a pinch or there's something I can't get around or get over.
Yeah, especially for hockey. I just feel it's way too random of a sport for an optimizer to be hitting for you consistently. You can have a guy like even some of the guys that we named, like, an Adam Henrique, 3 goals in 3 straight games. He can easily come out tonight and go, -3, no goals, no points, no assists. That's just the way that the game is built. It is a slower pace of game as far as scoring goes in comparison to other sports. So I started using an optimizer, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years back with football. It just kept making me my money back. It never blew my hair back. Never made a bunch of money off of it. So I was out of those pretty quickly. But
here's the thing: if you're using an optimizer for football in a big contest, how many other tens of thousands of people are using the same optimizer?
Exactly.
What can you do to set yourself apart? That was the whole idea behind Bottom of the Barrel and Hot Pucking Stacks. What can I do personally to set my lineup different than everybody else? If not, we're all going to be tied at first place, and a million people are going to share or they're going to share the $1 million prize, so we're each going to get $1. So to me personally, it's about being different, pushing the envelope, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but if I'm right, then I look like a genius. So I'm happy with kind of how I've worked it out the last 2 years.
No, absolutely. If you guys haven't already, be sure to like the video, share it, and follow us at youtube.com/TakeItToTheHizzy, and Chris Robin on Twitter, at Detroit Bestie. That's where you can find his Hot Pucking Stacks. Get some insight on some NHL DFS. So right now we're going to go through just a couple of names from some less than performing teams. Countdown to the trade deadline. We're going to be going through a handful of teams each week as we get closer to the deadline next month. So we're going to start off with the Anaheim Ducks. Just got a list of names here. I'm going to just kick it off with Richard Rakell. He's a name that could be on the hot seat here for getting moved or sold at the deadline. Some teams that I like for Rakell, Islanders and Bruins come to mind right away. I like the Islanders a lot just because of Anders Lee. Obviously, he's gone down with injury, going to be out 6+ weeks. Certainly not ideal for them, and they're rolling right now, the Islanders. 7-3 in their last 10 or 8-2 in their last 10, whatever it is. Would really like to see him paired up with Brock Nelson, Josh Bailey on that second line. What do you guys think? Any particular spots you could find for Richard Rakell here in the NHL?
The Bruins.
Like the Bruins?
Yeah,
That
I like
would
the
be
Bruins
nice.
on that one.
I'm excited to talk. Sorry to kind of throw this by the wayside, but I'm excited to talk about the next guy, Captain Ryan Getzlab. But Rakell would be very nice in with the Islanders as a winger on their second line or their first line when they're mixing and matching. I would imagine with the addition of Richard Rakell, who was a very good hockey player, it would cause the whole team to not turmoil, but turmoil in kind of a good way where they're shuffling their lineups to see what combos work. So I'd love to see Rakell in New York as an Islander.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite. I like the Bruins pick too, Nick. I would love to see him with Jake DeBrusk, fan favorite of ours, and David Krejci on the second line. I think that would be a great pairing. And I think they just need that, another layer of offense there. They're missing something recently, Boston. Very profitable as on the money line to start the year. They were playing very well, but more recently, kind of slumping a little bit. So I'd like to see that. Chris, you mentioned Ryan Getzlab. Where would you like to see him go?
Oh, I'd love to see him go to Carolina. I think that would be fantastic. Okay. So Getzlab is their captain. He's been their captain for probably 8 to 10 years here. Mm-hmm. And he's at his best when he's commanding, when he's centering a line. But you look at Aho he's their center on their first line. Aho is their bread and butter. But if you go to the second line, Jordan Staal is their second line center, who's fantastic. He's been around forever. Got like 15 brothers in the NHL, and they're all great in their own right. But I think Getzlab on Carolina's second line to be paired up with Jesper Fast or Andrei Svechnikov would be unbelievable. They would have, how many teams can you name aside from Edmonton or Colorado where their first line is just as good as their second line? Not too many, because if you look at through the NHL, there's a lot of really good, high-flying, fantastic first lines, and then bam, there's a massive drop-off to their second lines, where if you could put together two powerhouse teams in Carolina, the sky's the limit for them.
Yeah, I like that as well. Nick, what do you think about like a Kevin Shattenkirk or a Cam Fowler on the move?
Cam Fowler on the move. I was actually about to give my opinion on Getzlab. I was going to say Philadelphia, but with Shattenkirk,
I like that too.
With Shattenkirk, I think LA. But actually, both Cam Fowler and Shattenkirk, I think LA would be a great spot for them. Bolster that defense in front of those goalies. Probably give them a little bit better of a chance to be in some more games.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, if the Kings want to make a run at it, I think they should make a move. I have a couple other names on the list for the Kings down here, but I think they need to get more involved here if they want to be taken seriously to make a run at the division. What were you going to say about Getzlab in Philly? I like that one too.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
No, I thought he was. The question was for me, but you two were clearly talking, so excuse me.
No problem. So Philadelphia, their young goalie Carter Hart, I was really high on, with the bubble playoffs. He was looking really impressive. So I thought this year was going to be give the Caps a good run for their money. But Carter Hart's admitted that he's had some issues. In order to combat a struggling goalie, you need more offense. And I think Getzlab would be a great addition to that offense. He's not going to be a captain, but adding him to the second or third line would be great addition and possibly get some more goals for the team to overcome Carter Hart's basically sophomore slump.
Yeah, absolutely. And they also just lost Shane Gustafsson on defense, so they need a little bit more on offense as far as two-way players go. So I think Getzlab would be a nice little add for them too. I don't hate that. Other than that, for Getzlab, I wouldn't mind Colorado either. They have a good amount of cap money right now, and he holds like $8 million, $8.25. So would probably need some money retained by Anaheim, and then you got to find a decent suitor there. Probably still going to need to get something back. Let's move over to the Ottawa Senators. Not much to be desired here from these guys. I mean, I'll throw Colin White in the mix. They've got my Blackhawks listed as a potential landing spot. Chris, your Detroit Red Wings, I'm going to say a hard pass. I think he would be good on the Kings. I mean, he's kind of a gritty, a solid two-way player, could play up the middle, can play the wing. I think he'd be a good ad for them. What do you guys think for Colin White?
For Colin White, I think Detroit would be a good spot for him. I think I really respect Detroit because I kind of liked Yzerman. Like when I was younger, I always saw ESPN Sports Center, and they played very little hockey, and the very little hockey it was all Red Wings. I think that the young guys are coming up. I think that adding more to that team would just help the future come a little bit faster for them.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It depends on, what Stevie Y is doing and what the direction is. And I know the Wings are, we're going to discuss them here in a few moments as, selling pieces off. But yeah, Colin White wouldn't be a half bad addition. It wouldn't cost you anything. And you're going to get kind of a high motor guy on the team to, as you said, Nick, and not so the right words here, but like perk some of the other kids up here, and we'll see what happens.
Always need that grinder. Tom Wilson was ours. He ended up becoming a superstar.
Any other names from the Senators you guys would think would be most likely to be sold at the deadline?
I would love to see Chris Tierney to go from there to Edmonton. Tierney is, he's their first line center. So you go from first line center to probably second. No, it's not second because you got Nuge Hopkins. So I'm running So you'd go to the third line, but I'm almost certain Tierney could work himself up and maybe, get on the first power play unit, even the second power play unit. Could you imagine a line with Leon, Nugent Hopkins, and Chris Tierney? I think that would be absolutely electric. And Edmonton is already unbelievable. So personally, I don't think they need much help to get where they want to go, meaning the postseason or the Cup finals. But I think Tierney, that would be nice of them, of the Ottawa Senators organization, to kind of let him go, sell him off to like a very good team in Edmonton, and let him find his way in this team with Nugent Hopkins, Dominic Cahoon, even what's his name, Jesse Pulvajari, I believe his name is. Any other guy you can add to go with Connor, Leon, Tyson Barrie on defense, and even Darnell Nurse, who's been unbelievably good, especially for DFS purposes. So I'd like to see Tierney go to Edmonton. Why not?
That'd be a cheap ad, only $3.5 million on the salary right now. That would be a great setup there with him and with Nugent Hopkins. And Nugent Hopkins can play the wing too, so it's you could mix him back up into the first or second line too, like Tierney center the third line. So I wouldn't hate that. The only other one I have down here, and he actually wasn't on this list for some reason, was Evgeny Dadonov. First line winger for them. He makes about $5 million annually, but I'd like to see him on Colorado or in Vegas. I think he'd be solid there. I think he's just kind of wasting away there. He's like 32 years old. I mean, the best year is about to pass him by in the NHL if they already haven't. So get this guy to a contender. He can still bury the puck in the back of the net. 9 goals, 2 assists so far this season, but playing on Ottawa, he's a -12. So yeah, I'd like to see him moved. I like the Avs as well. I'd like to see the Avs as buyers. They've got a healthy amount of cap space, and they're at the top of the league. Just throw yourselves over the top, and maybe the Senators are a team for picking. You guys got any others here? I know it's really limited for Ottawa. Like, none of these names are sexy in my opinion.
Maybe a defenseman for the Caps. I mean, I'll always take defenseman on the Caps because the offense is so strong, and defensemen take a lot of damage. So I can have Carlson there, but Orloff will be hurt. There's sometimes where the best defensemen on your team are actually really beat up, and having an extra defenseman, it always helps. So give me one of those defensemen. I think it was Mike Riley or Braden Coburn.
Coburn wouldn't be bad. He's very, very cheap ad. Won't cost you anything. Late round pick, something like that.
I'll always take it.
Anything else there, Chris, on the Senators?
No, I'm good. I'd like to see Ryan Dzingel. I mean, I've always been a fan of him. I remember stacking him all the time when he played for Anaheim, I believe. So just some personal feelings there.
He's only got a year left, so if they can get anything for him, why not do it now? I mean, Ottawa, they have a ton of cap. It's not like they're not spending money or anything like that. They'll have plenty to dish out next year. Maybe when the cap goes up, once we get like fans back and they can restructure some things after COVID. But I think they need to get something for him while they still can. And only $3.83 million. That's not terrible. There should be plenty of buyers out there for him as well. Let's move on. A couple teams left here. Buffalo Sabres. Let's just stay with the big hitters and Jack Eichel and Taylor Hall. There are a lot of names here. Jack Eichel, I mean, anywhere where there's money available. I've mentioned Colorado. I wouldn't hate him going over to the Bruins, but they're going to need to make something happen there with the cap situation. He makes a lot of money, Jack Eichel. I'll say Kings in Colorado. Any names you guys like for Jack Eichel?
I was going to say Kings or, the Habs. The Habs, they have – they're almost like a very technically sound team, but I feel like they need more firepower. So I feel like he would just add to that. Like he would replace the loss of Max Domi for that team. So the Canadians would be a good team for me.
To me, it just Jack Eichel going to the Rangers just screams makes sense. He could be the face, or he'd be in Madison Square Garden. He'd be the face of the Rangers, and that just makes sense. And I just want to point out to anybody who's watching this or will watch this, there was graphics of each team, and you put Buffalo Sabres deadline goal, fire sale. That's very fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate the Rangers either. I just don't know how they manage the situation with him and Panarin. Eichel is he at like 10 million a year? What's his cap at right now?
Yeah, I for some odd reason I want to say 11.8, something like that.
It's something ridiculous, and I just don't know what they believe their future is. Like, is it Panarin? Would it be a youngster like Eichel? That would be the only situation where I would see that being difficult. Like, who are we going to move in there? And I'm not sure what type of offer they have or what contract they have in place for Zibanejad. They have some younger guys there that they may feel like they still need to pay, but maybe that's who they give up. Leverage some of those guys that they have and, bring in an Eichel. So I wouldn't hate that.
I've always loved the way Ristolainen plays on defense. He's,
me too.
He was he's like the block shot master and the poke checking in your face and, upsetting you. And Ristolainen going, to Philly would make sense. He's like nasty, kind of tight. But again, what's LA, trying to do there? Mm-hmm. So
I would love him in Edmonton because Edmonton, man, had a solid defense. They would run the freaking table, I feel. And Ristolainen, he's a young guy. Like, I don't know how old he is, but he can't be that old. I mean, no one in Buffalo is that old.
24, 25.
Geez, like he's good. So, if Edmonton can somewhat acquire him, that would almost like make up for like not having almost a top tier goalie.
Mm. Yeah, so for Ristolainen, I wrote one team and one team only next to his name, Chicago Blackhawks. Wish list. Hey, if we could land him, man, I'd be running down the hallways like the Bears signed Russ Wilson or something like that,
Yeah, he's solid, man.
Still hurts. But instead, you brought in Andy Dalton.
Oh man,
we had to say it.
As a Lions fan, I like that. So we'll see Andy Dalton for the next year.
Solid move.
A solid move, yeah. For the next 5 years to come, it's great. What do we think about Taylor Hall? I mean, who's willing to even take this guy right now?
Send him to San Jose.
Yeah, it's like that'd be a good one.
I guess. What do they give up for him for a 1-year rental for a team that's out of it? I don't know. I mean, I guess I wouldn't hate it. It would be a very Taylor Hall location, I'd say for sure. But I mean, I don't know. Is a contender willing to take him? Like if you're the Bruins, if you're the Avs.
No.
We got the Penguins in here. I mean, I don't think the Penguins would take a shot on him.
He completely fumbled the bag by signing with Buffalo. Like his value has to be like shooting down because he cannot raise a team. Like honestly, the team's worse with him on it. And it's almost like very disappointing. Like all the talk about how every single team was clearing out salary space for Taylor Hall. I was literally sitting there being like, guys, do you realize that there's only one Taylor Hall? And now the team that got him is literally in the dumpsters and is about to sell the entire team, including Taylor Hall. Like as a contender, I'd be like, man, you know what? I don't even need him. Like if we're already on a roll, I don't need to add somebody that's going to obviously mess up the chemistry. Like he's someone that's going to be demanding the puck, demanding chances. As a contender, I wouldn't want him on my team. So send him to Vancouver with Holtby.
Would you do a swap, Brandon Saad with Colorado for Taylor Hall? If you're Colorado?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if I know this is like, fairy tale land, but if you just swap the players and there was no money involved, because I mean, that's huge. His contract is massive, but the player comparison of Saad, Chicago's own, he played for the Blackhawks for so long. That third line, he did a lot of chippy work on that third line, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I would take a shot on Taylor Hall. The talent is immense. Like he's unbelievably gifted, and he just he took a dump going to Buffalo, chasing money. It's not the spot for him. He's on a 1-year deal, so I wouldn't hate that move for Colorado. You got Brandon Saad, who's got a couple of years left. He's getting paid $5 million a year. I don't think that's a guy that they want to move on with. If you could clear him out, in a season like this where, there's a lot of upside right now for a deep playoff run, bring in another guy like Taylor Hall. I mean, Brandon Saad is solid, but he's not overwhelmingly talented, and I do think he is overvalued for his contract. So I think that would be a really clean swap for Taylor Hall there. Any other names here, guys, for Buffalo before we move on?
No. Jeff Skinner. I mean, maybe like I don't know. I think the Islanders could be a good team to like right his ship.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when he was, basically one of the talk of the town. Basically, but then he played for Carolina, and he's been highly underperforming. So I think that if he goes to New York with Trotz, he could really probably straighten the ship and a 1 year deal and then go to free agency next year. Make some money. So I think that'd be a good good spot for him.
All right, right on. I'm with it. Chris, we'll let you wrap it up with the Red Wings here. Who do you want off this team? Who needs to go?
Oh boy, it's definitely not Mantha. This kid is fantastic. I love what he does. 6'5". How many Gordie Howe hat tricks has he had in his short career with the Wings? I'm sure you guys know what a Gordie Howe hat trick is. It's a fight, a goal, and an assist, I believe. So Mantha he's the future of this team, or so we thought, and it's just kind of running at a snail's pace. In terms of the players, I don't want anybody off the Red Wings, but the biggest issue we have, and it's been this way for a long time, it's the goaltending. I mean, nothing against Jonathan Bernier. He's fine. Peter Mrazek was fantastic. We let him go. He's been great, but Jimmy Howard was the fixture here after Vernon and Osgood and all that. So in terms of players that on the team that I want off, really, none of them. Bobby Ryan, I've always been a fan of him. He played in Ottawa all those years. Luke Glendening, I always been a fan of his. So it depends on, I think let me put it this way. I think the Wings, and it's not like I talk to Stevie Yzerman on a regular basis, but I'd like to think Stevie Yzerman is planning something big in the next season or two. Nothing is going to happen this year in terms of adding or subtracting players on their team, but he's going to build through draft selections and things like that. Stevie Y is very good at adding those no-name kind of defensemen or those third, fourth line wingers and kind of elevating them up to the second, kind of thing here. So something big is in the works for the Wings, but I think we're going to have to wait, to worst case scenario, maybe 3 seasons here. So the team is what it is. Whatever Stevie Y does at the deadline this season, I'm on board with, because it's going to be nothing, newsworthy. It's going to be nothing headline. It's just going to be those run of the mill. Oh, that happened. So, and that's fine. I trust Stevie Y and the Illich family.
Fearless leader. I dig it. I want John Merrill. Give me John Merrill on the Blackhawks. I'll take that guy in a heartbeat. Solid, stay-at-home defenseman. Doesn't cost anything. Here's a 7th-round pick. You're welcome. 6th-round pick. You're welcome.
Yeah, he's always been. He played for the Devils, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
He was fantastic over there. He is what, as Nick so put it several times tonight, he's a grinder. He'll get your stick in there. He'll poke check and ice to ice, blue line to blue line, board to board, blue line to blue line.
Yeah, I'd like to see him moved. I mean, not necessarily for the Wings case. I think that, he'd be solid. He was with Vegas for a while too, and he was solid with them. Sorry, I just saw Calgary just tie it up. This game went deep. They're only 1-1 here in the third period, not a lot of time left. So looks like your under is going to be a lock in this one here, Chris.
Awesome. I think I had in my article and everything, and even here, I said the final was going to be 3-1 Calgary. So let's say Calgary scores, and then they get an empty netter. 3-1, we all win money. Under.
There you go. I'm with it. All right, cool. So do you guys have any others from Detroit you want to cover before we hit the live betting outro here?
I'd like them to add Wayne Gretzky, Jaromir Jagr, maybe Sidney Crosby, and maybe Mario Lemieux wants to make a comeback. Brendan Shanahan, he's still around. Brett Hull, we'll
you don't
go from
there. Shanahan, his days are done. Those other guys, though, they'd be fine. Just not Brendan Shanahan. Just a little rivalry shade. That's all.
We got screwed in the draft. Let's not even start that. We're already hour 40 in. We'd be here till midnight.
All right, let's go through some of these live betting options, and we'll head out for the night. Appreciate having you, Chris. If you guys haven't, be sure to like and share the video and follow us on youtube.com/takeittothehizzy. So we got Hurricanes up 3-0. This game's coming to an end here. Not much in. You kind of alluded to it, Chris. We've been on for 1 hour and 40 already. So that one has already started, been going for a while. No one's going to be taking that one but the Hurricanes, so we can just kind of mosey through that one. Let's see, Rangers and the Sabres. Rangers up 4-3 Only 8 minutes left in the game. We got a goal total of 8.5. Looks like the Sabres are plus 1.5 still to win this one, or to cover. That's free money right there, guys. Do either of you guys think the Rangers bury another one?
Yeah.
I have a final score prediction. I put $1 on that the Rangers win 4-3. So I'd be happy to see it. And as it is, and that's well documented. I posted and published that stuff this morning.
Let's go. Let's stay with it here. You're biding another 7.5 minutes, Chris.
Awesome.
We're pulling for you. Right now, Flyers and Islanders tied 1 apiece. Let's see, is that 5? 5 minutes left to go in the third. Over under sitting at 3.5 goals. We'll take the under.
I bid it big time in that one. I had over 5.5 goals, and I had the Islanders winning 5-3. What a dummy am I? No, come on. I mean, Flyers have been scoring like crazy. It's just kind of one of those situations where, hey, they got to stop scoring at some point. I was on the same exact trend. The over was nothing but pointing to the money, or the stack of money. Apparently not. And then the Flames and Senators are tied at 1. Over under sitting at 3.5. That is locked though, so we're not going to get that. And let's see, Anaheim and the Wild, they are tied 1-1 going into overtime. Anaheim taking them to overtime. Ouch. Let's see if they got all the picks locked there. So that's just from us, going on for a while, but we had a great conversation, so it was solid. Chris, really appreciate having you aboard here tonight. Hopefully to see you back in the Hizzy more often. Absolutely. If I have an open invite, I'll make this a more regular thing on Monday night, if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I could talk hockey, all day, every day. I mean, I read and write it all day, every day. So what might as well add in broadcasting about it all day, every day.
There you go. There you go. You got anything coming up that we should be looking out for, other than kind of like your DFS?
Yeah. I have some it's the off season. I got a couple fluff pieces coming out on the Undroppables. The first one is, fantasy football things, my favorite fantasy football things, trading and, talking waiver wire, alone time. Where do you do all this stuff? So my favorite fantasy things, it will be coming out in the next day or so. Awesome. And also, and some dynasty asset stuff, but look for a lot of fantasy kind of football fluff pieces from me, since break up the monotony.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody be sure to check all of Chris's content out on Twitter at Detroit Bestie. Or is it Beastie? It's Beastie, right?
It's Beastie. You said it like 4 times. That's my cat's name, so she's the one that's pissed with you, not me.
Well, that's what I was about to allude to, is that all of us here are cat dads.
Jinx was on the Barcast. He was sitting right next to me. He loves Showtime. He always sits next to me.
Jinx is always on camera. I got Gandalf and Hazel downstairs. They are not with being on camera. That is not their thing. But they actually have more followers on Instagram than I do. So I knew Beastie was the name of your cat, so I just wanted to shout that out. That we're all cat dads.
Detroit Beastie. Thank you.
That's right. All right, very good. Well, be sure to check out his content on Twitter at Detroit Beastie. Nick, you got anything to close it down with?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you all for coming in.
All right, everybody, take care. Be well. We'll see you next week. Later.